Love finances the other F word and want to support the show? Become a patron by going to patreon.com/FTOFW. You'll get special features, a shout out on the air, and early releases. Or if you prefer, pick up some merchandise at financestheotherfword.com.
As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, and as wonderful an attorney as I am, please do note that anything said in our show are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, welcome to Finance is the Other F Word. And today on the show, we are super excited to interview Tricia Correia. Now, she is a film, television, and live events producer in arts and entertainment in Hollywood. She is also the owner and founder of Relevant. Did I say that right?
You did. You said it well.
Relevant.
She does have a tendency to say that word wrong.
I do.
Relevant.
Yes, that exactly why I said that.
Had a nice sound to it too.
So she is the owner and founder of Relevant Entertainment Studios.
Beautiful.
Woo-hoo, yay!
Yeah, come on.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Sorry, listeners, I'm still getting over my crap cold. So luckily for you, I'm not doing most of the talking on this episode. And so, Tricia, tell us a little bit about, so you do film, television, and live events. So let's actually work backwards into the television and film and tell me about, as far as what does that mean in producing live events? Like, what is a live event? Not specifically one you may have done unless you're comfortable telling us, but what does that mean, a live event producer?
Typically, and that's a great question, is we're talking about concerts. We can be talking about plays. We can be talking about, a sitcom. It's technically shot live with 3 cameras. And so what I do is, as a producer, I'll have an idea, or somebody brings me an idea, and then we'll get it on paper, we'll write it up, get everything that's needed to get behind it. So we're talking about the talent, we're talking about the crews, we're talking about the finance. I'm going to dumb it really down because there's a lot that goes into it, but it starts with an idea. It starts with a concept. So let's say if you and, Mel O, if you wanted to, put on a concert and you had the funding for it, you could come to me and I can put all the pieces together for you. Or if you don't have the funding, I can introduce you to people that perhaps want to go ahead and invest. And, their ROI is they want a percentage back from whatever they put into it. So I have done live events from mega churches to concerts to, the way my company is set up, we can do the big and we can do the little and anything in between. So I'm like a consultant. If you want to put a smaller concert on, you could come to me and I could break things down for you. I could give you ideas with the budget that you have and the people, the talent pool I can bring in order to assist you and get it completed under your budget. So that's basically what I do for live events.
So let's say that I was like, hey, I have a concert, I don't know, maybe I'm good friends with, I don't know, some major rock star, and I want to put on a concert, et cetera, et cetera. And, but I need the funding to secure the band and secure the venue and all that other stuff. And then you go, okay, you go out to people who are either venture capitalists or just other people that that are in your book. And they say, yeah, how do they normally want their return on investment? Are they looking for, like, would they be looking at for the organizer, like where it would be kind of almost like a bond or a short-term note where, hey, we're going to give you $100,000 and we expect 6% due immediately after the event? Or is it where they say, okay, we want a piece of ticket sales? Like, how are the people that are investing in the live events making sure they get their money plus a return back?
Right. Good question again. In a case like that, it is case to case. It depends the name you're bringing in. And that name can have attachments to them in the respect of their managers, their publicists. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. But what they would say is, in order for me to put on one event or 20 events, because sometimes if you're touring, that becomes different too. So what I typically would do was sit with them, start negotiating, where they would take it off the top. They'd say, okay, in order for us to go ahead and do this one event, it's going to cost $1 million. Then we start looking at that $1 million and we say, this X amount goes to the artist, this X amount goes to the crew, this X amount goes for publicity, so on and so forth. So you're breaking everything down, because people want to get something right off the top. So if they're bringing in their talent, they're going to attach the price tag to it right away. And they're going to say, for such and such an artist, it costs you this. Okay. And then sometimes the artist will want to invest in their own thing and they'll want a percentage. What I do is I say upfront, it's going to cost you this amount for my services, and I want this in the back end. So let's say a concert makes, and I'm just throwing numbers out here, I could say $1, or I could say, $20 million. $20 million, if I get 1%, is great, or 0.5%. So I like points in it. So therefore, I got my money up front, whether it makes the $20 million or not. You pay me an X amount of money. That's what I'm going to charge you: 15 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever it would be. So what I do is I go to parties and they would say, a venture capitalist per se. We're all in it to make money, right? And this whole show is about making money. That's the bottom line. So what I do, and right now the industry has changed because of what our pandemic has happened. Mm-hmm. People aren't readily giving their money away the way it was, because it's not as readily available, because the way the markets are right now, there's the potential of wars going on and things happening. So I always have to look at the market as a whole. And I have this thing that I stand by, and I never invest my own money. I invest other people's money, because in that way I am assured on my ROI, return on investment. I get my money regardless of the deal. And some people like that, some people don't, but it's how I work it. So once again, I know enough people in the industry that whether I'm doing, let's say, a live event or anything else, I can find the capital and then be able to put a project on. And we're not even talking about the streaming systems yet and all that, because those things are strictly, they want to make their money through subscriptions and buying your product, keeping your product, and then they only pay you a certain percentage. So it's a very interesting business, and the more you learn about it, the better you are at it. So that's what I do a lot of times, is people already give me the funding, and then I have budgets that I can show them exactly what I spent on, so they know I'm not also ripping them off.
Right.
And you could, it's like in your business, you can shop around and what's a good deal and what's not. Mm-hmm. So who's legit and who's not. And that's the business that I'm in as well. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, if you have an event and you have an act, and the act is signed on for whatever they charge, and they show up, and for whatever reason, due to poor promotion or whatever the case is, and the ticket sales just aren't there, then I know that the way that you have your deal structured, you make sure that you get your money up front. But like, let's say, if, you have venture capitalists who put up a certain amount of capital, they're obviously okay with the potential of maybe losing it if the ticket sales or whatever revenue stream that they're banking on happening doesn't come through. Correct? I just want to make sure I follow that.
That is correct. And they always run the risk that it can come through. And so when I say, you give me a certain amount of money, they may work it in that if they gave me that money, they get that money back too. My job is to make sure I have enough money to cover everything, because I'm the type of person, I pay the crew first. I always like the individuals when they come in, that whatever they're, and there's union jobs, there's non-union jobs, there's all these things you have to consider. Like, I'm part of SAG and AFTRA. Mm-hmm. So I have to work those types of jobs. But I can give advice to somebody who's doing non-union, or they can bring me in different ways. So that's, there's always ways around it. But if I'm on a union job, I should only do union jobs and then everything that is tied in with that union job. So when I'm doing business with someone, I have a contract. So they see everything that's stipulated. If you gain money, lose money, these are the percentages. So and we know when you're a venture capitalist, it's risk. It's a risk business. But I know I wouldn't hand over $10 million without someone I know that is tried and true, and the name is there. Because also with that artist then comes, if they're selling their products, it could be from t-shirts to, and people at the venue get their cut. I mean, there's so many things that go on that you have to cover your part, and you want to make money. You don't want to break even or lose it. Those are the worst scenarios. And it happens where people think it's going to be a great concert, this, that, and the other, and then something happens. People just aren't buying the tickets any longer. And especially with events right now, we're not, even with what's happened currently, people aren't comfortable to go out in these venues yet and be in that experience. And I can't say as I don't blame them. There's still too many unknowns, but there's different ways of doing it. Look what we're doing. We're in different parts of the world in a sense, and we're all communicating now. So there's different ways of doing things.
Yeah. Well, with all that said, I am seeing Metallica Friday night.
Yeah, come on now.
So now switching over to film and TV.
Can I just ask something
Oh, yes,
else?
absolutely.
You mentioned that plays was something that you could do. Are you involved in theater much?
I love the question. I used to be, but now really, honestly, my focus is more in film and television. And I think that's where I have the better bandwidth for it and the expertise. Now, I can point you to people who do that. If you want to get things done on Broadway or off Broadway, I'd say, oh, there's somebody I'd love for you to have a conversation with, and I'll point you to them and say, hey, they're a person that they're a musician, an artist, a producer, whatever they're doing. And you can have that conversation with them. So I'm a pointer. I'm always about connectivity. I like saying, if I can't do this for you, someone else can. But what I do is a lot of times like right now, I'm working on some things with the metaverse, the 3.0, the non-fungible, tokens, the things that are going. That's the wild, wild west right now. It's quite new, not to get off subject here. However, I think being in the industry that I'm in, it's smart to know these things and see where it is going to. It's just why, and that's why I call my company what I call it. I want to stay relevant.
Right.
And I hire in people, or I network, or I get along people. If I don't understand it, I can hire them or learn about it. That's kind of my philosophy in what I do.
Yeah, and we have tackled NFTs on one of our episodes.
Two of our episodes.
Two of them.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And I think that's where the future is going to go if it's handled correctly. And I just want to learn as much as I can, but I kind of have a wait and see philosophy right now, although I'm working with people that are pretty submersed in it in a sense, and I'm learning from them. And they're just saying, hey, why don't you just wait a little bit, see how it goes, because there's still a lot of things that aren't defined. And I think what happens are people will get scammed or think, it's like network marketing. If there's only a percentage of people that do well at it. In Hollywood, there's 1% of the industry typically always working. That's a very small percentage. So the odds of you hitting it, if you don't understand it and play it right, might not be so great. But I encourage everybody. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Did that answer your question, Zoe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
I can point you to someone, Zoe.
Okay. So basically, you may not be involved in theater, but people who are. So
right. It's not where I've been putting a lot of my focus, energy, and time into lately, or for some time. But it's like any industry, it's small, and you know who's good at it and who's not good at it. And I would rather be safe and point you to the right people.
Yeah, got it.
So when we're looking at, I know that with the events, it's like, hey, I want to put on this concert and this is the artist that I want, and here's a preliminary budget, and here's how much money I'm going to need, and et cetera, et cetera. So now back into like a film or a television show, you had mentioned that, somebody would come to you with an idea. So if Zoe had a idea of a reality show of just her and 40 cats,
And
then
it would work, so
she could pitch the idea to you, and if you said, yeah, Zoe, that sounds fantastic, I'm going to go ahead and do that, then what would then what happens at that point? You have the idea in your hand. And so the first question is that how do we know that like Zoe wouldn't have somebody take her idea and then take it as their own? That'd be the first question. And then
right.
Once that doesn't happen, then what do you do with this idea now to make it be, Zoe and her 40 cats?
Right. Okay. Great questions. How you start off is typically, have you ever heard of the term a pitch deck script, anything like that?
I've heard of a pitch deck.
Basically what you do is when you have an idea, write it down, put it, I use like Final Draft. That just happens to be a software that is an industry standard software where you can write scripts. So, and it can help you write scripts if you're not a student of it yet. So take your idea, and the first thing you want to do is write it down. Then get it copyrighted, protect it. That it's like with music and other things, if you had an invention, go ahead, go through those stages and get it protected, because and I want to be really nice in saying this, but we see a lot of the same programming just recycled. It's not really new, and
Right.
Somebody's trying to flip it and put something on it. But let's face it, a lot of the ideas have been done in a sense, but there's still a lot of creativity. And you can think of what you can do with 9 cats. 9 cats can tell 9 stories. Times 9 stories, times 9 stories. You have backstories, you have overall story arcs, there's things like that. But going back to what I was saying is write down your idea as best you can. The next thing is called a pitch deck, which is kind of like a proof of concept. You could, in 3 or 4 lines, break down to me what your story is about with your 9 cats. And then I'd say, oh man, I really love that idea. Give me your script, give me your pitch deck. And your log line breaks it down. And then I'd say, do you have any other proof of what your concept is? You could say, yeah, I have pictures that I've drawn. I have things about my cats, little stories and everything. So then what I do is I either put my money in it and invest it, or I go to investors and I say, hey, I have an idea, CBS, ABC, NBC, wherever. I start taking meetings. I'll go to HBO, I'll go to the streaming platforms. I'll start having meetings with people saying, I have this great cat story. It just happens to be this. Are you interested? And then they'd say, yeah, let's start meeting. Let's see how we can shake it out. I'll green light it for you. And that's basically what it is. I've seen people do a deal on a napkin and come through. It is crazy. And then I've seen people that have very thorough ideas that they can hand over. So the more evidence, in a sense, you have your pitch deck, your proof of concept pictures, NFTs, we were just talking about that, anything that proves you have something. Then also there's another thing that's going along with it is your footprint, your presence on social media. There is now a thing, we know social media is currency, your brand, this, that, and the other. So if you have a lot of followers for your cats and things, then when I pitch it to somebody on your behalf, then they'll say, this is a fantastic idea. She has 5 million followers. This thing, man, it's got traction. Let's see if we can do it. Because a lot of times what people are saying now is they want to see that you're marketable, that there is an idea here that they can take and it'll go. So I hope that answered the question. That's at least how I do it. And there's back meetings. There's a lot of things that happen, but Hollywood is always looking for the next best thing. And like I'm working on a couple of projects which I believe will become franchises that I think are really good, and they're family oriented. They're anybody, you know, I don't care where your background is, where you come from, you would love to watch this because it can be edgy but wholesome at the same time. So everybody can watch it, where in other projects, not everybody can due to the rating on it and the content.
So like if you pitched, you know, Zoe's reality television with their cats, and then God forbid, nobody watches it.
As if, I
I
mean,
know, I
Come
know.
on, people.
Yeah,
never happen.
so
Hey,
it gets the green light, and then it goes on whatever channel, and then it just, they, you know, it lasts a season and they go, hey, this is not working. Then is Zoe gonna be out any money, or the networks just go, you know, that one didn't work, so we move on to something else? Like, where does the money fall then?
Well, you guys, you know, both of you are really asking great questions. Once again, it depends. And how I mean that is, you could have a series, and in the series, Zoe, they say, Zoe, we're going to pay you 100,000. And I'm just throwing numbers out here.
Yeah.
We are going to pay you $100,000 an episode.
This is binding, Tricia. Just letting you know. You are making a hard line commitment.
I've got
bad connection. Can't hear you.
I've got all my cats making notes and sealing the deal as we speak.
Put their
Just
little
so you
paws
know,
on
Tricia.
everything. So you know, they're going to pay you up front. They're just going to say for such and such, for, you know, traditionally there used to be a thing called 13 episodes, and you have a pilot season, which usually, you know, it's January. So you film all these things, and then the particular networks look at them and say they're going to pick it up or they're not. I've known friends that have done so many pilots and never been picked up. I've known people that have done so many pilots and they go on to do that, you know, a series that is fantastic and lasts for, you know, many, many years. And then now that's going to start negotiating with your managers, all that kind of stuff. You're going to pay them, you know, a piece of the pie. And then they're going to say, well, Zoe gets $10,000 per episode. Then that's what you're going to get. And then there's things as residuals. But again, this is all in the negotiation, in the contract stages. And what's been really great is there's been series like Leave It to Beaver and everything, where the talent was not protected then, and they go into syndication. That's where you really make the money, is after 200 episodes, you can have a series. And, you know, it's like I Love Lucy and these other ones. They're playing and playing and playing. So every time that plays, if it was in their contract, they make an X amount of money. So that's what you want to do, is when you're, if you can, and if you have a sharp agent, that person should be negotiating and saying, hey, Zoe's going to get exactly this per episode. And if this goes into syndication, the producers get their cut, but so does Zoe. So whether you're awake or asleep, that is playing all over the world, you're making money. And those are the sweet deals. Those are the good deals. But a lot in the past, that was never done. So imagine these artists that really, every time you perform, you should be paid for that performance. It's the same performance over and over again, but it's like it's a live performance. So you should be compensated. And that's where SAG gets involved. That's where now they're protecting the artists. They're saying, hey, this is what we're negotiating for. This is what we're doing. So we want all these people protected. So it's really going to come down to how you do your contract. And I caution you and your cats in this. A lot of times people just want the deal. They just want it so badly. They negotiate poorly and they lose in the end. So it would behoove you to get around, make sure you have an entertainment lawyer, make sure you have a CPA, make sure you have a lot of mechanisms in place that you're protected and that person represents you. And if that studio won't give you a deal and it's a hot ticket, shop it elsewhere. I mean, that's what I do. I don't have it anyways. So what do I have to lose? So a lot of what I do is there's sharp agents out there. There's sharp, groups out there that they'll protect your money, because the more you make, the more they get. And again,
so do you work with the agents and with the managers?
Oh
Right.
yeah, I have
Yes.
to. And then I have people that I don't personally do it. There's people I can hire to do it because I don't know everything. That's the bottom line. So you're money experts. So I would come to you and say, hey, I have $2 million. I want to invest it now in the market. Can you tell me? Or I want to have money so when I retire at 30, I'm set. I can still keep working, but I know I'm always going to have that money in the bank or wherever, wherever it gets housed. So to me, it's just looking at what's out there because I want my money to make money for me when I'm awake and when I'm sleeping. I'm just that kind of person.
So if her idea flops, then who is she owing money or who's eating?
No. In a case like that, you don't owe anything. You get paid up front. Who kind of takes it is the studio,
Networks,
the
right? Okay.
ABC, NBC, CBS. I'm just naming those off.
Yeah.
But the great part is you get paid up front and therefore you made your money. So you're set and you can make good money.
Are you actively taking pitch ideas?
Oh, I'm always taking ideas. Like I have some that currently, I never promise. Just because I take your idea doesn't mean it'll get shopped or it'll ever go anywhere. But then I talk to somebody who might say, hey, Tricia, I'm looking for this idea, or I want to invest some money, or I'm like right now I have one particular idea in specifically that I really believe in, that I think can take off, and it could really it has merchandising, it can go animated, it can it just can really encompass a lot of things, and so that's kind of my baby right now and what I'm trying to push. And I don't know everybody in Hollywood, but when they call me and everything, and then I include musicians. I'm not just inclusive to people in Hollywood that simply do film and television. I'll talk to Nike. I'll do anything, to get funding, and because then I can do what they call product placement. If I have an Apple computer, something like that, and I'm mentioning their names now, I could go ahead and I could say, hey, we're going to film this, and everybody's going to be wearing your products.
Mm-hmm.
And then can you give them to me for free? But they're getting all this free advertising, and you notice that in film and TV, you are going to see specific products that are out in front or even mentioned. So there's a lot of ways to do business.
So for listeners, we will have her information in the body of the show notes and on our YouTube notes. So if you think you have a good idea that you want to pitch her, she said she's actively taking them. That's why I asked. I don't have any ideas. I don't even watch TV. So
I have a cat idea now.
There you go. Make sure you and Zoe.
My website is currently under construction. We're revamping it. So, but you can find me on different platforms, and you can back channel me, and you can get a hold of me. Pretty busy. If I don't ever get back to you, please don't be insulted. Please don't be hurt. It's like everything else. There's a lot going on. But you can always send your idea. I do like to respond. Can I always? No. It's just really, it's like going, and I'm not comparing myself, but you want a phone call with the President of the United States. There's certain protocols, there's things that happen. Not that I'm the President of the United States, but I'm, busy lady.
So tell me some of the things and the projects that you've worked on.
Well, I have had the pleasure of working on various projects. It's been pretty cool, from things that are spiritual and things that are mainstream. And spiritual, I mean, I worked with mega churches producing shows for them, which are really great. And then I've worked on Big Brother. I've worked with ESPN. I've worked with, oh my gosh, San Diego Padres live show. I worked with George Clooney, just different people like that. You work your way up in the ranks. I originally started as an actress, and I loved doing that, but I knew the power was behind the camera. And so I started as a PA, and then literally went from being that to a first assistant director to directing. And my heart is really producing. So I learned the business because a lot of people were saying, hey, why don't you try to do this for yourself? And I was always under other people. And therefore I was able to work with different talent, different projects. They weren't my own, but you kind of break, it's like you gnaw on it and you learn and you break your teeth on it. So I learned the do's and the don'ts of the business. And so now I'm giving it a shot. I'm saying, hey, I can do this, and a lot of doors are being opened, and it's all about networking. If I can tell you anything, is get involved, create your own content, or get with people that do it. Start off maybe at the lowest position and work your way up. That's how I've always done it.
Well, I have to jump straight in there. When you mentioned Big Brother, my eyes were like, saucers, because I'm a huge fan of Big Brother, and my eldest son is also a huge fan, and we have been for years. He's 18 now, but when he was a toddler, I used to watch it, he would sneak out of his bed and watch it with me, and he was so sweet. He used to call it house guests. He used to go, "Mummy,
Right.
Mummy, can I watch house guests with you?" And I used to let him, and now we still watch it together. And I believe I looked on your LinkedIn, and you were involved in the 2012.
Yeah, I was at season 14, and
Season 14.
There's a gal who I love to this day. Her name is Jody Rollins,
Okay.
and I was handling her. And I have some funny, I wish we had more time. I have some hilarious stories. She was literally eliminated within the first hour or two. And they called me back, but I was already promised to another project, and to stay with her and things. And she's terrific, and she's an amazing gal, and they're still doing reunions and things. And
yeah,
but it was a really great and fun experience. Reality programming at its best and highest is
right.
what I would call it.
Oh, that's great to hear, because it's lasted for so long as well.
Right.
Even especially here in America, because I believe in England they've stopped it now. Over here we're still going with Celebrity Big Brother, which is happening right now. My son and I are watching it. My favorite's has been voted out, so I'm sad about that. But the season that you were involved in, Ian won, Nerdy Ian,
Right.
which I thought it was, we just love it. It's been something.
It's all strategy. It's all strategy.
And he was a very strategic player. So,
right.
Yeah.
And
so is there any little secrets you can tell me about it? Or
well, they probably mention it, but there's things, you have to sign certain documents and not give away. They really quick here, like when I was on set, no cell phones, no cameras, nothing. You're just stripped down of nothing. They take it away, which makes a lot of sense, because people can take photos. People have no idea how many mics are in the house. When you're on the set, there's hundreds and hundreds of mics, so they hear everything. There's no privacy on the set. It shoots on CBS in Hollywood, over off of Radford, and on their lot. And so everything I had to, sign, I would, an NDA, I would never disclose things that I could not do. I was supporting the producers and the talent, and I learned a lot about it. We literally the talent is sequestered. That means from the moment that you're on the show, they literally have people go out, get you, bring you, and you're in a hotel room until they're going to start shooting. We bring you your meals. You can't have TV. You don't know what's going
on in the world, right?
Anything short of there being an emergency or something in your family, then you'll be notified. But once you get in that hotel, nothing. You can watch DVDs, CDs. You can listen to those types of things. You're fed, but you're isolated. They literally say, pack up a bag. We're going to come grab you. And from then on, it is the biggest roller coaster ride of your life. When I was there, when we were going to go on set, a funny story is I knew Jody I would help others, but they assigned Jody strictly to me. Mm-hmm. And so Jody and I got along really great. I love her. She's an amazing woman. And we would just have to crack each other up, because there's nothing to do after a while. You can only play so many games, watch so many movies, do so many things. And so when I knew we were going to go on the set, once again, they take anything about the world off of you. And we had to, it's so secure that there's bomb dogs. I kid you not. They go in, they sniff for bombs. They pat you down. It's really amazing what you do, because there's so many links. You know, people just leak information nowadays. So they check you out, they know who you are. But that was the one thing I think that kind of freaked me out, is we're sequestered in another room, and then they're bringing in the dogs. They check for any drug paraphernalia, things like that. If you do anything that voids your contract with them, you're out. There's just no drugs, no nothing, alcohol, anything like that. You're just out the door. At least it was that way when I did the show. I don't know currently. They've asked me back, but you know, I'm just doing different things now. But I loved it. I would do it again. It was a lot of fun. And that's pretty much, I can't tell you other things about the minutia of it, how they go about it, how they get the stories, how the characters play out, everything. I really can't discuss that.
Right.
But it's a well-oiled machine. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it seems to be, but it works. That's why it works, I'm sure.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was still on the air. When Zoe mentioned the new season, I'm like, what? Really? But I don't know, who knows? Maybe if they had like 20 seasons of Flavor of Love, I might still be watching it. Who knows?
Why not?
Yeah. So how have you seen, you know, specifically for women? And we talked a little bit off air, and you were talking a little bit about how Hollywood has changed for the female persuasion. So tell us a little bit about how you've seen it change, and if you think the change is for the good or for the bad.
I think the change is for the good. I think it's changing slowly. There have been repercussions for specific individuals who we know who they are, whether it be Weinstein and other people. They're in jail for certain reasons, and their stories needed to be told because they abused people's lives and they ruined careers, which on any level, that's inexcusable behavior. And it was propagated. And a lot of people could no longer be complicit with it. I knew several people that had this done. I personally was always protected. However, real quick, I have a story. One time I was going to go for an audition. And at the time, I have different properties where I live, you know, in the Los Angeles area, and then in San Diego where I grew up and such. So at that time I was living in San Diego, and I got a call to go up to the Hollywood Hills, which red flag, if you think about it. But my agent said it was okay. My agent at the time was sending me up with another group of actors. We were young actors. We're kind of up and coming. And they were saying, hey, we want you to meet a particular producer up in the hills. Well, I was down in San Diego when my other friends were up in LA. So I said, hey, I'll meet you all up there. And I'm the kind of person, I'm first in, last to leave. I wanted to get there early. And do you ever just get a feeling about something? There's something in your gut, whether you're investing or you kind of know there's not, you just need to be careful. So I drove up, and I had my Porsche at the time. So I'm having a good time. I haul it up to LA. I'm going up to the hills, and I got there early and nobody else was there. So something in my gut was saying, stay in your car. Don't go in there yet. Stay in your car. And I did that. So then all my friends got there, and it was 3 girls in total. And so we got into the home, and immediately the guy was dressed like Hugh Hefner. I kid you not. It was such a stereotype. And we kind of all looked at each other. And so we were thinking, and he immediately started displaying behavior that my jaw personally dropped, and it wasn't cool. And he had a lot of things he was saying to us as the women. And the guys, I could tell they were starting to turn red, but not red embarrassed, red upset. And one of the guys was there with his girlfriend. Okay, they're both actors. And he literally looked at this guy and he said, if you don't knock it off, I'm going to knock you to the ground. And so then the guy was, but do you know who I am and what I can do to you and everything and all this stuff. And so we still all auditioned, did our things, and we ended up leaving, but one of the guys, and I don't recommend this, literally went up to this man and pinned him against a wall and said, "You're not cool. You don't talk to women that way," and everything. And so we felt empowered as women. And then we talked to our agent after that. He apologized, said all this stuff, but we go, "This isn't cool. If you're sending us up here, you don't know who this guy is. You didn't check him out." And he goes, "Oh, well, I kind of had an idea of his reputation and what he did." And, I don't care who you are, you should, man, woman, whatever, you should never be treated that way. So that became a lifelong lesson for me, that I never put myself in situations, but I will speak up now. And if I ever see a woman or a man, because it happens both ways, and they are treated that way, I will speak up. So going back to it, it has improved in Hollywood. And behind closed doors, people aren't comfortable with this behavior, but they want to keep their jobs. And therefore, they do things, and this is in any industry. It doesn't matter that it's Hollywood or it's in finance or wherever you may be. This type of behavior has been propagated since day one. And then people lord it over men and women and say, "Hey, if you sleep with me," because the casting couch is still alive and well, the favor couch, whatever you want to call it. So this type of behavior is known now, but there's still mainstream people that are behaving badly. It's better, and they're being caught at it, but it's still going on. And now we're seeing it on levels with royalty. We're seeing it on levels with these high-powered people in politics and everything. So my thing is, you're going to get found out. It's still not the way to live or operate, in my opinion. But I really, when I'm in those types of situations, I posture myself in such a way where I say, "You know what, I don't think I can do business with you today, perhaps in the future." But I just don't align myself with that. And there's a lot of things I could tell you about Hollywood, from, it's going to sound crazy, the Illuminati to, but let's face it, there are very powerful people in politics and all over that are running the show, but there are good people too. And it is switching. So as a woman, what I do is I like to protect other women. And I'm seeing more doors being opened because I'm a professional. They know I can do the job, and I do it well. So I get a lot of word of mouth business and a lot of return business because of it. But I always will put, I'm a whistleblower in that sense. I'm like the one, I'll go in and I'll be scrappy and I'll fight for you, and there's a consequence, good and bad, for that. So I have learned within the industry that if you're wronged, speak up regardless, because I would rather work with somebody with integrity than someone who has nothing. So, and I have tons of other stories, but that was one that personally happened to me.
Right.
And I just was so thankful that I was protected and I didn't go to that house alone, because I think something bad could have happened.
Oh,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I'm just proud of the guys for sticking up, because I've been in, so Zoe, numerous business situations where it's been a room full of guys and it's a guy being a total jackass. And, and there's a double standard with women. We're not going to get into that, but, and the guys don't have your back, even though they can blatantly see what's happening. And, whether it's sexual harassment, which I've been a victim of in front of other men who said nothing, and, all the stuff that Zoe could say, but, we'll probably have you back on the show at another time to
Thank
share
you.
some of your
It's
stories.
been a pleasure.
So tell everybody, plug all your stuff, tell everybody where they can
Well,
find you, how they can get a hold of you.
Thank you very much. If you, my website is currently under construction, but if you look me up on LinkedIn, Instagram, Tricia Correia, and it's at Trish Producer. On Twitter, on Instagram, it's at Actrish. Clubhouse, I'm Tricia Correia. I'm in several rooms like the Hollywood Chit Chat. Boy, that's hard to say.
I thought you said something else for a minute.
I know. For a
I
second,
was like, I like that room. Go right now.
Well, you are always welcome to come in. I love getting different perspectives. There's the Kingdom Entertainment business where I'm a moderator with 3 other moderators, and it is for individuals of all levels. You can, if you're thinking of starting off, being in the industry, if you're a beginner or a seasoned professional, we have people who are all levels, all different types in Hollywood who come in, who drop gems, who really, I mean, imagine having this conversation with somebody you'd never have access to. And that's what these rooms are about. You can back channel people. I've been making connections I cannot believe. So that's where you can find me on Facebook, those types of things. And again, if you get a hold of me, I try to get back to you, but sometimes from the sheer volume and the way my schedule is, it is difficult. As my phone's already blowing up again, it's just difficult. But my advice to everybody is, this is a business. It's like your business, and treat it as such. Learn as much as you can about it. Align yourself with professionals like Mel O, like Zoe, people like myself that can maybe help you not to get hurt in a sense, or lose something that is so valuable to you, whether it's your money, your time, your talent, and your treasure. Those are things that you can't always get back. So if you hit me up on all those social media platforms, you'll find me, and at the least I can have a conversation with you. So that's pretty much it. I hope that was it.
Yeah. And we'll have all that listed for you in the show notes. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Such a pleasure. I love you guys. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'll think about your cat show, Zoe.
Thank you.
Ooh, Zoe might be a superstar.
I'm going to go around and tell all my cats to, keep it clean and, just
maybe start working out a little bit so they look at the camera, something like that. Well, we appreciate you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Follow us on our social media channels at Finance is the Other F Word, Twitch. We're at YouTube, Finance is the Other F Word. I am on TikTok, FTOFW_podcast. You can find us. Thank you for listening, and we are out.
Cheerio.
Bye now. God bless. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you like us, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.